Welcome, everybody. It is Coach Sean McCarthy with Colorado Coaching Company and Bold City Coaching Company here in Jacksonville, Colorado. Um, I am trying a different platform today. If you've followed me on Facebook, then you know that I tend to do some Facebook Lives on there. Today, we're trying the YouTube platform and just trying a different a different piece of technology in order to reach our audience. Today particularly is a fun one that I've never shot a video on. In fact, I went through my video archives to see if I've ever shot a video on my story and how I came to be a coach and what all of that looks like. And I don't have any recordings of it. So obviously I'm going to use this in future marketing, but most importantly is it's going to be in answer to a question that somebody asked me on Facebook. So on the right side, it looks like I've got a live chat. So if you have any questions or comments, I'd love it if you engaged in the chat to help me learn this platform, most importantly, so I can teach it to you. But if in the meantime, if you'll let me know that that you're watching, just tell me where you're watching from. Again, that should be in the live chat. I'm not sure where that's located on you, the video or the viewer's side. So I apologize for that, but that's sometimes the fun of utilizing a new platform and learning some of the ins and outs of it. Looks like I've got, I do like this. It's giving me a little bit of a audience notification to let me know that there's some people watching. So I appreciate that. Howdy. If you'll let me know where you're watching from, I'll figure out if I know who that person is or not, if I'll be able to see that or not. So the question came from Josh. Thank you, Josh, for asking this. But it's a great quality question. And the question was, what qualifies me to coach his small business? And you know, the truth of the matter is, I would encourage you, if you're seeking out the help of a coach or a mentor or somebody to help you with your business, you should be asking this type of question, right? You should be interviewing the person. Just because somebody calls you on the phone and tells you that they can help you with your marketing and they can help you with your Google, or they can help you with Yelp advertising and marketing, or a business coach that reaches out to you, you should first start by learning more about them and what qualifies them to be able to assist you, your business. And the truth of it for me is that coaching is very much of an intimate relationship. It's very personal, and you should, wow, that's a little glitchy there. Every now and then I'm noticing that. Sorry, guys. But you should be able to relate to the coach. Now, I frequently start with saying I'm not a typical business coach, that I'm more like the athletic coach version of a business coach. And the way that I'll explain that is I frequently will say, listen, if you've played any organized sports where you had a coach, you'll understand my model a little bit better, because there's some times that I definitely gray the area of coaching. The way I was trained to coach as a business coach typically is I'm not supposed to provide any specific answers. My job is to help you discover those answers. Well, I find that in small business coaching, that's not realistic. And so because of that, I use the analogy more of an athletic coach. So let me ask you, if you're watching, if you'd put in the comments, what do you think the role of your coach was when you played organized athletics of any sort? Now, that might be basketball, that might be football, might have been baseball or soccer. It could even be a swim coach, or you were on a swim team, might be a golf coach or a golf team. Whatever sport you played, maybe it was volleyball, right? Whatever sport you played, think about the role that the coach played in as far as your sport. Put that in the comments. Even if you're watching this on replay, put up the comments. What role did the coach play? Now, see, I frequently will ask this question, and I'm not getting anything in the chat box, so I'm going to keep going. But when I ask this question to folks live, they usually say things like, well, the coach kind of provided insights and provided perspective. The coach provided, training and helped us learn a little bit more about the game. The coach, often was the one who pulled up and drew up the strategies for how we were going to work together. The coach would provide feedback, would provide tips, and so forth. Those are the common answers that I get almost initially. But the other ones that I want you to consider is, I bet that the coach was also the person who held you accountable. And the reason I say that is, I know that both in the sports that I've played and when I've been able to teach my son's teams, that if the coach called practice and actually had the expectation that people were going to arrive on time, started on time, and then he, or she began to implement the coaching strategy or the coaching plan for the day, that was the sense of the accountability. They had an idea, they'd already thought a little bit about practice, but most importantly was the accountability. If you've ever attended a practice where the coach didn't call the practice, but the teammates did, or your teammates, or maybe even a team captain did, chances are it wasn't as structured or as organized, and people might have shown up late, they might have been screwing around, they might have been horsing around, and so you didn't get the same level of quality out of that practice. Well, similarly, as a coach that kind of models that, by having a coach involved, yes, one of the things that I do and how that relates is I provide the accountability to you and your business, and to the ideas and to the things that you need to be doing in your business, but aren't necessarily following through. The second thing is very similar to what many people will respond to, is a good coach is going to provide that perspective. Now, getting onto along the lines of what qualifies me is, first off and foremost, is I've been coaching for 10 years. So in order to provide perspective, you're not just getting my opinion, you're getting 10 years of constantly honing how to look at and how to assess businesses. But more importantly than that, also how to look at and understand people better, so that I can make a suggestion, or I can give and customize an approach or a strategy, particularly to a person. As I get to know them better, I know what I need to say in order to get them to take action. I know what I need to say or do or suggest for them to change their perspective in order to connect what it is that we're trying to get, the strategy we're trying to develop for the business, where we're trying to go. It's really just about a true customized coaching approach, but also really a training or a educational approach, if you would. And so that's part one. Is really, I've got 10 years of experience, actually more than 10 years now. And I've been able to work with a large variety of people. And through that, I'm often able, it's not about whether or not I know your business or whether I know your industry. It's more about how well can I understand you? How do you learn? How do you learn best? And get you there so that we can get you moving forward in the direction you want to go. Now, relating this back to that athletic coach, the other thing that I will do is, as I just suggested, is I'm going to do training in needed skills. So I'm going to be able to do specific trainings to help you, right? One of the things that, for whatever reason, I really enjoy is I love learning about SEO. I love learning about how the algorithms work and how that impacts your business. What are things that you can be doing as a small business? And the reason that I enjoy that is because if you go try to look up, how to optimize your search engine optimization for your business, one of the things you're going to see is content, putting out a lot of content. Well, if your job isn't writing, that might be difficult for you. I know it's difficult for me. I tend not to write. That's why you'll notice I tend to do more videos like this that are more publicized than you really get to read my blogs and so forth in my voice. I struggle for that, because as I get writing, I just want to include more information and more information and more information. And so a simple blog post ends up being a pretty long blog post for me, and it takes up too much time, and it's just not great use of my time. So with that is, I love this medium of being able to record videos, being able to record audios, doing phone calls, and so forth. With that being said, I try to help in improve for you ways that you can create content or ways that you can still see a bump in your SEO without you having to write blog articles and write all the time. Now, obviously, there's other ways, right? We could have somebody else write for you. But the whole point of that is I've learned enough about SEO and also SEM, which is search engine marketing, to be able to help you learn enough about it so that you can make an intelligent decision. We can talk about that and move forward. Similarly, I study leadership. Now, as a small business owner, working with employees and being the leader of your business, you probably are more interested in learning more about how to get better at your specific business, get better in your industry, and improve your business, as opposed to just reading leadership books. So there's many of those little skills that are pertinent to my business in helping a small business owner that I don't need you to specialize in. I can kind of direct you in certain areas and say, hey, I think this book would be beneficial to you. I think you'd get a lot out of reading it. So I'm going to recommend that book. And so sometimes that's that training and needed skills. Another one that I tend to talk with a lot of people about is helping them understand the different types of personalities and how that might impact their leadership, how that might impact their marketing. Similarly, I talk about situational leadership, and I teach a very basic model of situational leadership as it pertains to a small business owner in leading their employees. So those are just a few examples, whether it be SEO or SEM, personalities, and how that affects marketing and how that affects customer service. All of those things are relevant to the small business owner. But do you really have the time to go figure it all out, or would you like me to give you the quick book summary version of it, so that you can understand it well enough to use it? And if you want to learn more, you can obviously do that in your own time. So I do a little training in needed skills. That's something that an athletic coach would do as well. Offering perspective, offering accountability, and then also doing a little bit of training, offering some tips to hopefully get you to optimize your own performance, right? Because that's really what it's about. It's about small little tweaks. Chances are you already know enough about what you need to be doing in your business. You've already been doing it pretty well. You just need small little tweaks. And that's the same thing that a good athletic coach is going to do. Now, another key factor of that is also maintaining a 30,000-foot view of everything going on, right? It's very easy for you to kind of get blinders on in your business and you miss kind of what's going on in the overall business. Similarly, if you played sports, you know your role quite well because that's what you're working on mastering. But looking at how it pertains to the overall team, or how it, what that's going to look like over the development of the team over the long term of an entire season, that's a little bit different. And that's really the role of the coach. The other role of the coach is to sometimes provide outside resources, whether that be another coach or possibly a different trainer, just accessing those different resources. Similarly, there's many times that I refer out to other resources so that you can get the benefits of that resource. I have those connections. I have that awareness. And really, it's just plugging you in and making you aware of those resources and why and how to use them best. It's another piece that I do for all of my clients. The final part of that 30,000-foot view is really maintaining the strategy and looking at it long term and keeping you on track so that you're constantly developing, your business is constantly developing, and we're tracking some of those important numbers, those key performance indicators, KPIs. We're tracking specific numbers to make sure that we are moving in the right trajectory to reach the goals that you have set or you and I have set for your business. So all of that is to say that that's how I relate back to a kind of an athletic coach more so than a traditional business coach. Now to get into some specifics to Josh's question. I alluded to a few of these. First and foremost is I am a certified coach. I'm certified through Certified Coaches Federation. They're based out of Toronto. The reason I chose CCF was they were one of the few coaching programs that actually did their education face-to-face. And so that's, obviously going through and putting in the time and effort and getting that training to be a certified coach. okay, that might qualify me. I'm learning more and more. There's all sorts of different quality coaching programs out there, and each one has different requirements for their certification. So that may not separate me from the other coach that you're considering. Hopefully, they're still a certified coach, but I've also come to learn that not everybody, there's some amazing coaches out there who do not have certifications. And I think that they can still be an amazing coach. So you definitely want to consider that. The second thing that's important for you to know is I've also gone on to get my Master Coach certification. Master Coach certification is just a fancy way of saying I'm also certified to be able to train other people to become coaches. I did that for a few years, actually, before I got more involved in just my coaching practice and when I began to focus more on small businesses. And so I utilize a lot of those skills. It's, again, that's not anything that should separate me necessarily. We do, that is one of the pillars. We want you to learn our coaching methodology, or just in general coaching methodology, to be able to use in your business to better manage your people, to better manage your customers, better manage the relationships around you, because we truly do believe in the idea behind coaching, which is really about empowering other people. So that's important. But those aren't the reasons that I would say why and what qualifies me to be your coach. Some of the key factors are I started studying leadership prior to going to college. In college, I actually worked with a leadership program, worked both in the schools, in the college, but also had the opportunity to work with some key leaders in the Eli Lilly pharmaceutical company. I went to school at Indiana State University, where I got my psychology degree. Part of it was I was looking at creating kind of my own industrial organizational psych degree. I didn't complete what I was putting together because I had ended up getting a great job offer. At that time, it was working with kids. I was kind of battling between two different fronts there, and had a huge interest in industrial organizational psych, also had extreme interest in kind of psychology and working with children and serving the youth population. As many of you know, I did that for 16 years. I served the youth population for 16 years before learning about coaching, then went through coaching, and that's the quick little story of that. Important for you to understand that, yes, I have a psychology degree. Part of that was also studying communications. Part of that degree was also studying industrial organizational psych as it relates to larger businesses. I use a lot of that same thought process as I work with smaller businesses as well, looking at efficiencies and productivity and increasing that. It's a little bit more challenging at times for small businesses because we don't have as many factors and we're dealing with less people. We really have to look at each individual at that point versus departments, if you will. Probably what qualifies me the most is my passion to help small businesses and the hours of training that I have put in on my own to understand small business, to understand all of the mechanisms, to begin to develop our program and how we work with small businesses. But, it's hundreds of hours of training, which include seminars, going to conferences, attending webinars, online courses, live courses, and way too many books. And it seems like that's constantly changing what that means to be a small business owner, where much of the basic foundation is still the same. But when you get in engagement of customers and when we're talking about marketing, that's changed a lot. That's probably what qualifies me the most. Is I've owned a small business prior to being a coach. And so I know what goes into building an audience. I know what goes into getting customers, and not just in theory of actually getting people to walk through the door, of managing employees, of using, contract employees and freelance employees. All of those things I did before I ever became a coach. And now as a coach, I still own a small business. Half of the reason I stay up to date on the current marketing trends are because I'm utilizing them myself for my business. My business has been around in Colorado for a long time, and I still garner the benefits of the work I put in early in my business to gain a website presence, to get a digital marketing presence early on and understand that. I've utilized social media through growing my business. I've gone through the ups and downs of I love social media, I hate social media, all of those bits and pieces. But most importantly, I find that many of my competitors, they bought a franchise. They bought a franchise, which, they went and did a weekend training and maybe it was a week-long training, and they bought a binder. And it's, the way that you'll know that you're dealing with somebody that learned how to coach is they're going to say things like a proven system. What I've learned that to mean, because I've also engaged in some of those coaching programs as well to benefit my business. And what I've learned is when you say that we've got a proven system, they're going to force you into their system. There's less customization of that. And it's frustrating to me because I've often come in behind somebody who's worked with one of those coaches. And yes, they deliver on the results to a degree, but they don't understand the impact that it has. An example that I'll share is I had somebody who the coach promised to increase their revenues, and he did. What he did, though, in the process was decreased margins, and the business was actually making less profit after this coach got involved because they weren't being smart about how they were increasing revenues and where they were investing their money in marketing and so forth. And so they increased a bunch of overhead costs and generated, bottom line was they were working harder as the business owners to make less money at the end of the year. That's not my model at all. My model is, how do we get you to work less, take out more profit? I want you to understand where the profit comes from. I want you to understand the margins. I want you to understand how you're going to actually get people through the door. Once you understand what that process looks like and why, and certain key things that are important, then we can outsource that. Then we can find somebody else to do it, but then you're in control. You're not relying on somebody else to just do it like it's voodoo or magic or something. You're actually able to lead those contractors. That's the way it should be designed as you are a small business owner. You've got to know all the facets of your business. And then we can begin to pull you out, and you can put strategic people in there, whether those be employees or contractors or outsourcing it to a different company that's what they specialize in. But you have to understand it first and foremost. Being a small business owner first, I understood that. In fact, the little tweak of how I became a small business coach was because I struggled with two partners that I had in my business. And I went back to the person who certified me as a life coach, because that was my original coaching certification, was as a life coach and then a parent and family coach. And I went back to my trainer and I said, hey, talk to me about business coaching, because I didn't know business coaches existed at the time. So talk to me about business coaching, help me understand how this relates, what this looks like. And then to be able to look at the whole picture of how does life coaching come into play for as a business coach? How does parent and family coaching come into play as a business coach? And now as a business coach. And part of that for me is, and here is a key factor of what separates me is from many of my competitors. I start by looking at the people. Number one person in a small business is the small business owner. And so that's where I'd like to start, and I want to educate a small business owner. My experience is that most small business owners, they got into the business because they like or they have a passion for what it is that the business does. Many of them, if they have that passion, if they're really good at what they do, they're not so good at the business side of things. And I want to be able to help them easily understand the business side of things so that they can still be the passionate leader, the visionary for the business. And they can stop doing it all and trying to do it all, because chances are that's zapping their excitement. It's zapping their true gifts. But nobody else is willing to take the time to teach them what it means to be the CEO of their own business. Nobody's taking the time to teach them what it means to be a business owner first, so that they can then continually act on their passions and act and do what they want to do and serve the customers and clients that they have. So that's kind of, what that looks like. It's a little bit longer answer, I guess, than probably what Josh was looking at, but I wanted to be as thorough as I could because it's also my passion. I've had multiple opportunities to leapfrog and work with larger businesses. And as much as I still see value in that, and I'm always willing to work on that, mostly on the leadership side of things, and understanding how to utilize coaching as a management tool. I keep coming back to my passion being with small business owners, and that was because I still see so many business coaches that say they want to help small business owners, but they don't understand small business at all. And that's what I think I'm, and why I label myself as a small business coach, not just business coach, but a small business coach, because I understand small business. I understand the psychology of the small business consumer. I understand the personalities that come into play in a small business. And so we're not talking, when I say personalities, I'm not talking about a DISC assessment. The tools that I use make it really easy for a small business owner to begin to identify certain personalities in their employees, but also in their customers, and begin to understand people better. If you understand people, you'll understand business. The more you understand people, the better small business owner you're going to be. So again, I welcome any other further questions. I truly appreciate Josh asking this one. Hopefully, Josh, you get a chance to see this, and I'll send it to you actually. And this answers your question. And if you'd like more information, let's jump on a phone call and let's figure this out. We do have a process that we, anybody who's interested in working with us, we do have a process that we go through. The first one of those is let's jump on for a quick 30-minute business assessment. And then if things make sense, we'll move you into the phase 2 of that process, and then we'll figure out if it makes sense for us to work together. So again, guys, I'm Coach Sean. I am with Bold City Coaching Company and Colorado Coaching Company. I appreciate you watching. It looks like we've had a couple folks in and out. As you're watching this, if you do me a favor and let me know if there's anything new that you learned, but also where you're watching from. And if you have questions, please post them in the comments below. Thanks, everybody. I'm out.